You've probably noticed a pattern lately. Whenever political tension rises, Democrats reach for one phrase: Jim Crow. It's meant to shock you, to trigger a very specific emotional reaction, but here's the part they rarely mention. The original Jim Crow laws weren't written by today's Republicans. They were written by Democrats of that era. So the question is, do they bring up Jim Crow because they've forgotten that history? Or because they're counting on you not to look it up? If anyone understands how damaging those laws were, it's the party that authored them. And yet they invoke that era again and again. Why? What purpose does it serve in today's political landscape? It's a distraction from the real issue facing the Democratic Party. The truth is, they're struggling to articulate a message that resonates anymore. They look directionless, not because the issues have disappeared, but because many of the themes they once championed have been absorbed, reframed, or outright taken over by Trump and the modern Republican movement. I've talked about this before, especially on two major fronts: the border and protectionism. For decades, Democrats positioned themselves as a party of secure borders, warning that Republicans wanted looser immigration for cheap labor. And on trade, Democrats were the ones arguing for keeping jobs in America, while Republicans pushed global free trade policies. But now Trump flipped that script. America First is built on the very protectionist ideas Democrats used to promote. He's been more openly friendly to unions than any Republican I've seen in my lifetime. And while many unions didn't formally endorse him in 2024, they also didn't rush to endorse anyone else. That silence spoke volumes. Democratic strategists had to see the warning signs, even if they'd never admit it publicly. And that's the core problem heading into the midterms and even into 2028. The Democrat Party feels out of touch. Their entire political energy since Trump descended that golden escalator has been focused on one mission: stopping him. Everything else has taken a back seat. Meanwhile, they've become increasingly tied to cultural debates that even many lifelong Democrats struggle to defend. Controversial issues like gender transitions for minors, curriculum battles over sexuality, or the inability to agree on basic definitions like, say, what a woman is. These aren't unifying causes. They're divisive, and they're not helping the party reconnect with voters who feel left behind or unheard. That's not to say Republicans don't have issues of their own. And I talked about that at length in a recent video. And yes, I got hammered in the comments by my own side for it. For the record, I wasn't punishing Republicans for bad ideas or secretly hoping they'd lose the midterms. I wasn't criticizing Trump's agenda. I fully support it. I was simply pointing out that if Republicans do lose, there's a reason. Congress hasn't done much to advance the agenda voters clearly supported. What I'm saying is this: Republicans are still the safer bet. They're the better bet. And that's because we already know what Democrats will do if they regain power. Their focus will return to one thing: going after Trump with even more intensity. It'll dominate their agenda. Everything that matters to voters will take a back seat. And if they have the power, they'll do everything they can to hogtie President Trump. Look, the Jim Crow thing is just one more example in a growing list of hypocrisies, manufactured outrage, and selective historical memory that people should be paying attention to. The border and protectionism are just two issues. But what about Iran? Where did the Democrats go who said not that long ago they must be stopped? They are a serious threat to the U.S. and the Middle East. They must never be allowed to obtain nuclear weapons. Now they appear to be softening toward Iran. Sure, they've always had friction with Israel. That's nothing new. But to suddenly back away from the threat Iran poses? Again, do they hope no one will go back and check what they said for years on this issue? It's just another sign of a party without direction, a party without conviction. It feels like a giant game of political pong. Wherever the ball bounces, they run the opposite way. That's not leadership. That's not steering the ship toward a destination. That's blindly navigating us onto a chaotic and potentially dangerous course. They are harnessing the art of distraction here, and it's on a very large scale. What have they said all along? Trump's a villain, Trump hates women, Trump's a dictator, the claim of kings notwithstanding. They've been hyper-focused on the Epstein files, which, let's be honest, if there were anything in there that could take out Trump, it would have surfaced long ago. They were the ones shouting threat to democracy while choosing their nominee without any voter input. Does that look or sound like democracy to you? They've complained about inflation. But did they take it seriously when Biden drove inflation to levels not seen since the Carter years? Gas prices hit a record $5.07 a gallon in 2022, and they dismissed the role Biden's policies played. Presidents don't control gas prices, they said. Why is now different? 13 Americans died in a botched exit from Afghanistan, but that was brushed off as something that happened. You almost expected Hillary Clinton to pop back up and say, what difference does it make? They say Trump hates women, but Haven't Democrats launched an all-out war on the very definition of womanhood? They can't even agree a woman exists. They accuse Trump of being an enemy of the Constitution and free speech. Yet, weren't they the ones pressuring social media companies to suspend conservative accounts and purge entire platforms? As we draw nearer to the midterms, I'm saying two things here. And it may sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm not. I'm acknowledging that both sides have issues. Democrats have no clear agenda beyond opposing Trump at every turn, and Republicans haven't done enough to advance their own. That's a problem for both sides, and it makes choosing between them less straightforward. The Democrats are asking you to look away, and the Republicans are asking you to look past their inaction. So the question becomes, are we better off with a do-nothing Republican Congress or a chaos-driven Democratic one? For me, the answer is clear. When I ask myself, who offers at least a sense of stability, the prize goes to the Republicans. I'd rather drive on bald tires and risk a blowout with some control than have the wheels come off entirely and lose all control. And that brings us right back to where we started, Jim Crow. They invoke the darkest chapters of our history, not to educate, not to warn, but to distract. Because if you're looking backward in fear, you're not looking forward at their record. You're not looking at their contradictions. You're not looking at their lack of direction. Jim Crow isn't their warning, it's their shield. One of many, actually. And they're counting on you not to notice. Now, there's one more thing I think is important before I close. If Republicans do win in November, we have to make it count. I mean, really make it count. Leadership has to understand that. We're in an almost historic position here. Republicans have a strong chance to hold the White House in 2028, and if things line up, it could set the stage for multiple presidential terms. The stakes have never been higher, and we have to be honest about one thing. We can't rely on momentum alone. We can't win on passes. We have to win on results.